Hi all, my name's War Master Moloch and this is Magic Masterclass, a new series in which I highlight the very best laws of magic in Total War Warhammer 2, which spells to buy and how to use them. It's primarily a series for people who do not feel confident in using magic, being either new to the game or having not made much use of it in the past. However, it can also be of use to people who are already good with magic but may have overlooked certain spells and their uses and so could use some fresh ideas. Something that's important to note here is that I won't be using out of 10 ratings or other such systems because there's a lot of personal preference involved in spell selection and, frankly, I believe you're all intelligent enough to infer from what I'm saying whether a spell is good or not without me telling you whether it's a 3 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. In case you're new to the game or an inexperienced spellcaster, here are a couple of basic pointers. You can turn the trajectory of the spell in the direction that you want it to go by holding down your left mouse button, turning the path indicator to the chosen direction with your mouse, and then releasing. Also, if you want to overcast a spell, then press on the spells button twice, and if the overcast is available, 2 indicators will light up on it. Be aware though that overcasting makes miscasts more likely, potentially hurting your caster. Today we're starting the series with probably my absolute favourite lore of magic in the entire game, which is the Skaven lore of Plague. This is an extremely versatile lore with an ideal mix of damage dealing, ally buffs, enemy nerfs, and most important of all, summons. Lots of lovely, lovely summons. It was always a good lore, but since the addition of weapons teams has turned the Skaven into the ranged powerhouse of Total War Warhammer, it's become absolutely essential to every Skaven army. If you want to succeed with the Skaven, you want Plague casters, and plenty of them. The lore of Plague comes with Plague Priest heroes and the Grey Seer of Plague lords, with one minor difference between the two spell sets that I'll come on to later. The default starter spell for the lore is Pestilent Breath. This is an expanding tear-shaped breath spell that is best used by blasting it along the length of a unit or a blob of units rather than through the middle of them. It's weak against armour but can disrupt enemy formations. The cost is 8 winds of magic for a standard cast or 11 for an overcast, with the latter giving the standard poison nerfs to impacted enemies. Sadly though, it just isn't a very good spell. Here we see it used against a unit of Swordmasters of Hoeth. Sure, it's not the weakest infantry, but if a spell isn't good against better units then its usefulness will expire quickly. Not only does it not do much damage to the Swordmasters, but if not aimed well, it can actually harm your own units. Best to leave this one on the bench unless absolutely necessary. Next up is the passive spell for this lore, which is Plague Rash. This only costs 1 point, doesn't cost you winds of magic in use, and gives a map-wide speed and vigour debuff to all enemy units while you're casting. That's a decent thing to have and well worth a point once you've bought the more valuable spells. Which brings me on to the most important spell in the lore, which is Vermintide. This spell summons a unit of clan rats for 7 winds of magic, and you can summon 5 of them per caster per battle. There's no overcast option, and that's fine because it doesn't need one. You can use these summons to flank enemies, cast them inside walls to attack before you break them down, and most important of all, to tar pit enemies and block their advance towards your more valuable units. This makes armies of nothing but ranged units viable and enables you to obliterate armies from range without endangering your paid for units. It's also good for distraction. Here we see summoned units that are attracting archer fire by just standing out in the open. Otherwise those archers would have moved forward and started to shoot at more valuable units like the Plague Priests themselves or perhaps the weapons teams. In case it isn't already obvious, this spell is a must-have. Next up is Blessed with Filth, which was an underappreciated spell for a long time but has now found a niche with connoisseurs of long distance carnage. This spell costs 5 winds of magic and is an area of effect augment that can give multiple units the ability to poison the enemy, hitting them with all the standard poison debuffs. Those being loss of both armor piercing and non-armor piercing weapons damage and, crucially, a 24% debuff to speed. Using this against any unit can give your own an edge in melee, an opportunity to escape. Best of all though, you can also use it to slow down advancing enemies when shooting them from range. This becomes even more powerful when used with rattling guns, which come with a suppression mechanic which already slows the enemy down. Casting Bless with Filth on your rattling guns reduces that target to a glorified walking pace, as seen here with Grimgore Ironhide, who doesn't stand a chance in this firing line. An Overcast will cost 8 Winds of Magic and doubles the duration of the effect, but you really don't need it. Last and sadly definitely least of the spells in the opening section of the lore is Wither. This drops enemy armor by 30% for 10 Winds of Magic, or 60% for 16 Winds when Overcast. It's by no means a bad spell, but when you consider this is twice as expensive as Bless with Filth, and being a debuff spell requires you to get closer to the enemy while the latter allows you to stay close to your lines, it just isn't cost effective. You can use it in combination to good effect, as we see here against this High Elf Princess, using Bless with Filth and Wither together, but at that price it's not really worth it, and that's the story of the spell in general. There are just better options for your Winds of Magic. Heading into the second section of spells, we find Plague. This was one of the most underrated spells in the game for a while, but has recently found favour with people thanks to various streamers showing off how effective it can be. It costs 11 Winds of Magic and is a static vortex, which is great in the field and in sieges. In the latter case especially because it can be cast on walls, unlike most other vortexes. It's good against armour but weak against single entities, and the Overcast costs 16 Winds of Magic for additional anti-armour damage. This spell can absolutely devastate a unit, as we see here with these Swordmasters of Hoeth. And it's especially good against blobs, as we see here in this siege. Being static means that its damage is predictable, but the enemy can move away from it, so be aware of that. On a cost per wins basis, it's an absolute bargain of a spell, and I personally almost never overcast it, as you simply don't need to. Last up, we have a second summon section that encompasses 2 spells, because the Plague Priests and the Grey Seers of Plague get different units. The Plague Priest version, Pestilent Birth, summons a unit of Plague Monks for 14 Winds of Magic, and you can summon 2 per caster per battle, with no overcast option. Grey Seers of Plague, on the other hand, get a spell called the Dreaded 13th for 20 Winds of Magic, which summons a unit of Storm Vermin with halberds and sets off an explosion which damages nearby enemy units. In addition to that, they can also overcast, but for the same Winds of Magic cost, 20, and get a unit of Storm Vermin with swords and shields instead. But what holds true for both Pestilent Birth and the Dreaded 13th is that they're just not worth the Winds of Magic cost. They're only of use if you need a summon immediately after a Vermintide, or you've run out of that spell. And what those situations usually mean is that you didn't bring enough Plague Priests. So now that we've covered the spells themselves, I want to talk about my personal purchase order for when I'm setting my casters up on a campaign. So personally, obviously I have to put a point into Pestilent Breath just to unlock the chain, but from there I put 2 into Vermintide, then 2 into Bless with Filth. That then unlocks Evasion, which I open up, and then I get Reserves, put the next 3 into Plague, and that opens up Arcane Conduit, which obviously I get straight away. From there I get Warpstone tokens, because then you get extra Winds of Magic from that. Put the last point that you need into maxing out Bless with Filth, then Plague Rash, then Earthing. Then after that you've got the optional extras of Wither, Pestilent Birth stroke the Dreaded 13th, and the final point to go into Pestilent Breath. But those are not essential. The essentials were the first bunch. Now we come to how I personally choose to use the Lore of Plague in my own battles. I like to have 3 Plague Priests in every army on campaign, with my armies invariably being built around weapons teams and artillery. The priests form my front line with their own bodies, but also using their summons to tar pit the enemy on approach, allowing my recruited units to shoot in safety. Plague Priests are also great for damage dealing combos, like pinning down the enemy with Summon Clan Rats and then hitting them with a Plague Vortex. Or, if there's a Warp Bomb available in the area, you can use the summon to tar pit the enemy, and then once they're weakened a little bit, you hit them with one of your spells like Pestilent Breath, something relatively cheap, and then you blow it up using the Warp Bomb to take out every enemy surrounding that unit, which is a very Skaven tactic. Also, don't worry if you think that this sounds like a lot of Plague Priests, because there is a follower called Bell Polisher, which you get a lot of when you're fighting a campaign, and it expands the sorcerer availability pool by 1 each time. So every time you get one of those, give it to a character and you're able to recruit another Plague Priest or another Eshin sorcerer, but you really don't want to be doing that when you could have a Plague Priest. So that's my rundown of the Skaven lore of Plague. I hope you found it interesting and that it helps you in your future campaigns and battles. If it is helpful or you've just enjoyed it, I'd appreciate you hitting the like, and if you want to see more videos like it, subscribing would be nice so that you'll know when the next video comes out. Also, stick a comment down in the comments section if there's another lore that you really want to see analysed. I'd like to thank you for your time watching this, and I hope to see you again in the next one.